So today is the 18th of September, so I am 9 months on testosterone, um, officially today. um, can't really say there's been much changes in the last month that I am aware of, um, compared to last month changes or whatever. I physically, am not really noticing a lot. If there is something, I'm not really like sure about it or whatever. My hair is growing a little darker in still. That's gradually happening. I cut my hair a little shorter this time. I decided to mess around with my clippers and try all the different settings and stuff. Um, I don't know if my voice has gotten deeper, but I guess I'll do the thing. I'm Lil, and this is my voice 9 months on T. So, or testosterone, whatever. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I can't think of really physical stuff going on. Everything's still the same, still getting acne, still getting smelly smells. I, well, actually, I can think of something. I noticed, like, I don't know, a week ago, maybe less than a week ago, I don't remember exactly when, but I noticed that my feet are getting more masculine. I'm not sure how to explain that. I've never had the most feminine looking feet. My feet have never been dainty. I have very wide, flat feet, and I've always had hairy, big toes. Um, like, very hairy. So I've never had girly feet, allow me to be clear. But I don't know, when you look at like, I don't know, pictures or images of guys' feet, they're usually like, I don't know, that muscular or something. Like there's like little veins and there's this muscularness, and then most girls' feet I look at are like more dainty or have like every other girl I've ever met who had the same size feet as me. They have way prettier feet, but that's always been true. Like they have a lot smoother feet, and their feet don't have hairy toes, and um, I don't know. Lately, mine have had almost a meteor look to them, and it's been very recent, and that's changed. But like having little veins almost poke up on them a little bit sometimes. I'm not sure how to explain that. I'm not sure if I'm being very good at it describing it, but I like I have lots of brothers, and they all have feet that are like that. That have like, I don't know, not that same smoothness to them, and mine are starting to look that way. The rest of me, as far as I know, is all still the same. I already had body hair. I don't see more of it. And it already seems to have darkened in as much as it wanted to darken in. Um, can't think of any health stuff majorly or anything like that. Um, Next week is my appointment with my doctor, where hopefully I can talk about getting referral for top surgery going and stuff like that. Um, that would be incredible. I would very much like that to start happening. And I'll probably get my labs done, check on my testosterone levels and stuff like that. I I definitely have still been, for the majority part, being presented by most people like automatically viewing me as male, and um, that's like a relief. The only time it doesn't happen is like, for instance, at the bank the other day, a woman called me my dead name, and I was like, there should be a note in my account that's not my name, and she was like, oh, sorry, you know, and everything. I did look into, again, the Social Security Administration, and again, they're still closed. They still won't do any appointments or anything, and my thing is good for 2 years without like having to go extra stuff. Like for 2 years, you have the ability to change your name, and I really wanted it to just happen, but the pandemic variants are impeding that. It's frustrating, like how many people are still super against the vaccine. I mean, people are that I'm related to are like, oh, vaccine mandates are like illegal and unconstitutional and blah blah blah, and that's like completely false. The first vaccine mandate I think was done by George Washington for smallpox, but I think it was amended way back when the polio vaccine began to be mandated. I don't know exactly the time, but it is definitely legal. It was judged by a court to be completely legal to do vaccination mandates. And I mean, we've been using vaccination proof to go to school and for our pets. Do you want your pet to not have the rabies vaccine? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you take and do all of this other stuff with vaccines, but you're super against this one because magically this one is the one where the Democrats are trying to invent it or something, when the Democrats didn't invent it at all. Vaccines have been around for like ever, and mask mandates during disease have been around for millennia. Like even ancient peoples used masks to combat disease. So none of this was invented recently or to be political, and people are still super against it. Like the vaccine has FDA approval, so hundreds of millions of people have taken the vaccine. Like if you thought that it needed some sort of a trial or something, it's already happened. I'm not sure what people's deal is, but the vaccine only works if enough people get it fast enough. It's there's so many variants going on that people are having breakthrough cases and stuff, but at least they're not dying as much. Um, oh, and a bunch of people I'm related to had this theory that the vaccine was going to make you impotent. You're 11 times more likely to die without the vaccine. The statistics are out. It's statistics now, and actually, they've got so many cases now of women having miscarriages and having like like really bad problems with pregnancies and stuff, and being able to get pregnant and stuff after catching COVID and not being vaccinated. So the opposite thing happened. Big surprise. Um, like the math is really obvious. Um, and the places where the mandate is being ignored or fought against, or people are like turning it into something political, is the places that are getting hit the hardest by COVID deaths at this point, and hospitalizations being so capped that people are dying to other things that aren't even the pandemic, like cardiac arrest, because there's no hospital that they can go to because they're all full of COVID patients who are all, you know, 99% of them people who were unvaccinated. And 99% of them isn't an exaggeration, that's the actual statistic. Meanwhile, you've got other countries that are over 70% vaccinated across the board, like Denmark, and they're completely open and business is booming. Anyway, I have decided to wait more on my name change just because I cannot give them my driver's license for 90 to 120 days. Also, I mean, I know they're not going to open it right away. They don't open mail right away, and I have to be able to take my spouse to appointments and to physical therapy, and I can't just not drive. Um, I'm literally the only person in our household who can drive, so I I wish that if they're not gonna open up to people, being able to do appointments for more types of things, I wish they would set up a here, drop off your documents, and then, you know, 2 days later, here's your documents back. Like, start something like that. Like, I don't know. They're just trying to endure a situation that shouldn't even be happening. So the the whole thing is just ridiculous. But it does give me an excuse um, to protect my family. And right now, unfortunately, I have to protect them from my other family. My father and mom are visiting the state, and I can't see them because my father has convinced my mom not to get vaccinated, and he's not vaccinated, and my spouse doesn't need to be around that. They've been traveling, and she doesn't need to be getting sick with all these variants. Like, the, the thing about a disease is if it doesn't kill you the first time and it gets to go out and widespread again, it's just going to go spread and try again to come back and kill you later as a variant. It's going to mutate and hope that it can get you this time. And it's not that its goal is to kill you, its goal is to succeed in, you know, procreating as much as possible inside your body and feeding off of you. But the point remains, if it doesn't get you the first time, it's going to go out and practice on other people. And if there's other people available, it can mutate and become a variant. And if everyone would have just gotten vaccinated, there wouldn't be all these variants and there wouldn't be as much mutation. The reason you send vaccines to other countries, the reason there's a mandate for almost all immigrants now to get vaccinated when they enter the country, period, including refugees, is because the more people who are vaccinated, the less it can spread and turn into a variant. And it's like not just helping another country. It in the long run, it helps you too. It's logical, but people are just obsessed with turning it into some political thing when it's really just about helping people and saving lives and trying to help people be safe. And it's really impeding a lot, including paperwork. Like, for the majority part, people don't misgender me unless my birth name comes up on something. And it's something I'm to the point where I just confront it. I'm just like, nope, that's not my name. And explain if I have to, because I can't tolerate the frustration. um, I have still been using the men's room. I haven't had any issues, except that usually there's only like one stall or two stalls, and sometimes they're used. And I don't feel comfortable waiting in line in the bathroom itself. And maybe that's weird, but like all the other guys are just doing what they're doing and getting out. Like, it's not a thing. And the problem that has arisen suddenly from that, it was working fine, but then some dude was walking toward the bathroom and he saw me standing out there, and yay, he assumed I was a guy, but boo, he was like, oh, no, there's a line. I'm not waiting in a line to use a urinal. And, I was like, oh, no, dude, there's not a line. I was like, I'm just waiting for someone. Which is technically not lying because I was waiting for the girls to come out of the other bathroom, but um, I couldn't go to the bathroom after that. I was so like embarrassed. I was like, um, crap. That doesn't work either. Another trans guy I talked to said that what he does is if he's waiting for a stall, he just starts messing around on his phone and tries to look really busy, because being busy is the main thing. That you don't want to be in the men's bathroom and not be being busy, because that's the only thing that makes you stand out, is if you're not purposeful in your actions. So he said he tries to look like he's really busy while he waits, but I think I might still wait outside the bathroom because the excuse of waiting for someone else is still there. My nephews, I have been taking them to go to the bathroom, and so far they haven't asked me why I don't use the urinal. I'm sure at some point, it'll come up, but hopefully, it'll be fine, and not a big deal. I'm gonna just tell them I read a thing once, which I did. I did read a thing once, but it was basically that sitting down when you pee is actually better for a man's prostate or something like that than standing when you pee. So I'm just gonna say that. That I read this thing that said that. I have no idea if that's actually true because I didn't actually look it up. I was just casually reading through a bunch of suggestion things for men in general, and I didn't actually verify if that's true. Um, like I do a lot of things. I like to look things up and be sure they're true before I commit to them, but whatever. um, it's been good for the most part, except that men's bathrooms are just so much grosser than girls' bathrooms. But other than that, I haven't had any issues. I haven't had anybody like making a fuss or acting like I'm weird or being like gross toward me or something like that. They don't even look at each other, guys in guy bathrooms. We don't really pay attention to each other. Um, I am hoping the doctor's appointment goes really well and that the the beginning of the pandemic, people had a lot of appointments canceled and had to reschedule them and stuff. And I'm hoping that some of that's caught up. But because they're at hospitals and hospitals are a lot of them at capacity with unvaccinated people who are sick with the COVID-19 and a few vaccinated people with breakthrough cases, but the majority of it is unvaccinated people. Um, I don't know how much there's still availability for things like surgeries. I don't know. So I don't know how long the wait is. I don't know if they got caught up on the people who had to be rescheduled in the first place. I don't know. Um, I guess I'll find out. I'm also hoping for a referral for up here in Seattle, because we used to live in Tacoma, and I would. I'm hoping to get a referral for therapy again because I still have not started seeing a new therapist. Although I have been trying to be like aware of things I'm grateful for and tolerating happiness and being someone who's thinking about the future and the good things and hope and all of that. I've been trying to, stay focused and all of that. But, obviously practicing good behavior isn't the same as actual therapy. So, I should probably start doing that again, especially since therapy helped me so much when I was doing it before. It would be obvious that it could still help me doing it here. So, um, and I think I'm pretty solid on the path I want to take with transitioning. Like, I'm pretty aware of how much it has benefited me to accept myself and to not tiptoe around that anymore. But I do feel like, there's obviously more that could be worked on with how I grew up and things that were a result of that and, ways that messed me up and that it might be, facilitating bad habits or things that impede me from having as much joy and contentment in life as I could. Like, I feel a lot more capable of someday being in a good place, but I don't feel like super exuberant or anything like that. And I don't know if I'm supposed to. I don't know if that's a real thing that's supposed to result, but I just I don't know. I would like to be as content as a person's capable of being. Um, and there are a couple of things that I probably should still talk through with someone. So, but it's not really about transitioning. I'm very comfortable being male. I have like so much more confidence and sense of worth and such stuff as that being male. Like I realize now looking back on my life when I was like a teenager and a kid and like I was actively deterred from being boyish, and I still to a certain degree couldn't resist being boyish. And you know, I used to wonder what's wrong with me? Why can't I just do stuff? And I realize now it wasn't necessarily what's wrong with me. I realize being born with some deformities and stuff, someone could say, oh, that, there was something wrong with you. But in reality, it wasn't what was wrong with me, it was what was wrong with the way that I was raised and the thinking in the minds of the people around me and the demands and the expectations that were pushed on me. Like, it wasn't actually wrong for me to act like myself. It was wrong for me to be punished every time I acted like myself. Um, and I still found little ways to try. Like, I have pictures from when I was a teenager and I was part of this like women's group thing where, they made banners and did sewing and such things. Anyway, I have pictures from that, and all the women are in like flowers and, you know, frilly shirts and lots of jewelry, and, you know, bunches of them wear skirts or dresses or sundresses or whatever. And there's me in my baggy jeans and my baggy sweater. I wore all these really baggy sweaters because I was allowed to wear a sweater, so I just wore them too big. And, boy shoes and one necklace and long hair because I wasn't allowed to have short hair. And the necklace was just girly enough that I could get away with, dressing that way. And the sweater was technically a girl sweater, technically, but it didn't really look like it. It was very plain and ordinary and baggy. So, like I looked completely different from all of the other ones in all of these pictures. I found ways to still attempt to express my masculinity without pushing the boundary too far. I was always skirting that edge of that boundary of this is unacceptable versus I can't live any other way. Like, I mean, I was just so suicidal because I couldn't live as myself, and I thought there had to be something wrong with me and the world would be better without me, and I wished I had never been born. And it wasn't what was wrong with me, it was what was wrong with everything around me. And like accepting myself and being myself has been the happiest and the most content I've ever been. Even though I don't talk to pretty much almost anyone that I talk to for the majority of my life, I don't miss them. For the most part, 90, 95-ish percent of them, I don't miss them at all. Because in reality, a lot of the stuff was just so cruel and manipulative. And a bunch of them, I don't think they were intentionally trying to be cruel or manipulative. I think that they were just reciting what they thought they were supposed to say or doing what they thought they were supposed to do to be a correct member of the community that we were a part of. Like, I don't think that they were doing it to hurt me. They were doing it to be as righteous seeming as possible and to convince me to be as righteous seeming as possible. I don't think it was intentionally malicious, but it was extremely damaging and malicious. And I'm just so grateful I don't live like that anymore. Like, I don't live like that anymore. And in the future, I'm not going to live anymore like I live now. And that gives me hope. I still have trouble looking in the mirror. I still get a lot of dysphoria and I still struggle with things. But at least now I understand why, and I know it's temporary. And temporary might mean years, but it's still, there's a possibility of an end. And end is the wrong word. I think to some certain degree, the dysphoria probably will always reside there, but it will get smaller and smaller and smaller until it's a minuscule part of personal insecurities instead of this like major glaring siren, like crickets. It'll be like crickets. It's not like it's completely obliterated. It's like it's this thing that happens, I don't know, like I don't even know how rarely, but every once in a while just flares up and goes away. Like I've had a lot of introspection and I've watched a lot of videos about other trans guys and their experiences with like surgeries and with transitioning. I super recommend that to anyone considering transitioning. There are so many like people who are willing to express things that happen to them or things that you should prepare for or changes that they didn't expect and maybe you should expect. Like the videos on even just YouTube, there's tons and tons of them. Even if you don't want to go read and you just want to watch something, because I'm very visual and for instance, I get a lot out of watching something instead. Or maybe you're auto-verbal and you want to hear people talk about it instead of reading it, whatever it is. The point is, the big thing is I hear everything that they say and I always weigh it with, does that sound worse than living forever without a chest, for instance, that's male, or bottom issues? Um, like, can I really tolerate going the rest of my life, you know, shaped the way that I am, especially downstairs? And I listen to bottom surgery stuff, and people are like, I couldn't work for 2.5, 3 months. Some people are like the complications. I couldn't do anything for like 6 months. The descriptors of people having horrible complications, or oh, they were out with their friend and their colostomy bag ripped and pee went everywhere. Terrible things that happen. Or somebody's like, I hear it a lot that their pee line in their penis closed and they had to have that fixed and it was exceedingly painful and they kept getting urinary tract infections and it was so painful. And, you know, people talking about how embarrassing it is to have to go to the bathroom in a bedpan because you can't move at all and the nurse is right there waiting for you to go to the bathroom and you're just like in so much pain. Or the people describing the smells. Apparently you smell terrible after surgery. Like it's just rancid, like basically rotting dried blood, so it smells like old pennies and stuff, and you smell really bad. I listen to all of this stuff, I look at all of this stuff, I think about all this stuff, and it sounds awful. It sounds not pleasant. It sounds like, you know, not things that are going to be enjoyable by any means, but I look forward to them because if I'm doing them, that means I'm that much closer to being on the other side of it. And all of it sounds worth being on the other side of it. There's there's not a single thing that has come up that's like, yeah, you know what? That's the thing that's too much. I'm not going to risk it. Nothing, not even close. To be able to have the chance to go the rest of my life fully, capable, these surgeries, even the worst case scenarios just don't sound bad enough. I've seen people who are like, they jacked up my hysterectomy and because of that, like I got sudden onset osteoporosis and stuff and I'm just like, that's horrible. That's terrible. That's the only person I've ever heard of it happening to, but that doesn't mean it's impossible to happen again to someone else, and that someone else could technically be me, but at the same time, totally worth it. I wouldn't regret it at all. And I don't know if they would. Like, I just was thinking that. I don't know if they regret it. um, they don't seem to. They all talk about it like it was some tribulation thing or whatever, and was difficult and stuff. But now that they're on the other side, you know, they got through it. I mean, I've watched detransitioners say they regret like a surgery, but detransitioners almost always it's just top surgery. So, um, it's like the regret is for a much less complicated thing usually. Um, bottom surgery usually is more than one surgery and a lot more severe, or however you want to say that, a lot more intense. um, but yeah, it's all these different stories, all these different people, all basically saying the same things. You know, watch out for this. Oh, be aware of this. You know, and it's all stuff that I consider and I pay attention to because I try to learn from other people's experiences and I try to weigh that with my own, and try to weigh that with science and technology and stuff. And some of these experiences are from, like, for instance, there was a guy who they went to use his leg. He had had hair removal surgery on his leg, gotten all of that electrolysis, and then they couldn't use the leg because it didn't have good nerves, and so they had to actually take it from the other leg, and then he had to have basically a penis that he has to shave for the rest of his life. And on top of that, both legs have these massive scars on them and stuff. And now they have nerve grafting, and they can, tell before they cut. You can do a test and make sure that the nerves are good. You can avoid some of the things that some of these dudes are expressing or describing, which is, helpful. Like, some surgeons don't do drains anymore for top surgery, and one of the big things that you hear is drains are extremely painful when they pull them out. So, like, thankfully the medical technology is advancing, and that doesn't change that it's going to be a very painful and, you know, powerful experience. And when you're going through that pain, a lot of guys say they get depressed. They can't move, they can't get up, they can't do stuff. That's enough to make some guys depressed. But really, it's not just the immobility and the struggle with not being able to do things for yourself. It's also the pain. Like, the physical pain is just exhausting and can lead to depression. But I would take temporary depression again. I would not take long term, rest of my life depression, but it's not going to be long term, rest of my life depression. I have had a taste of not depression, and I fully would go back to it. um, I'm not worried about being depressed for the rest of my life, even if I had temporary depression after a surgery. I'm not worried about being able to come back. A lot of guys say that when they get their surgeries for bottom parts, they are always worried it's going to fall off and everything. And I think I think part of the reasoning for that is because it's like so precious. It's not it's not the pain that makes you worried that it's going to fall off, like, oh, this wouldn't have been worth it. It's the I don't want to go back to not having it, even if it does hurt, and even if it is, like, grotesque because it just came out of surgery and all this stuff, you know. That's how it'd be for me, at least. I'm not super worried about what it will look like. As long as it's, you know, of a length that coincides with the phantom limb penis I already feel, and as long as it's functional. Like, to me, it being functional is more important than how fancy it looks. Like, I care about being able to, like, live. Like, I don't care if I'm the most gorgeous looking man there ever was. I don't need to be insanely handsome. I just need to be able to live my life as a man. Maybe that's weird. I've seen a lot of people who are really big into, like, not just being a man but being a handsome man, and there's like a lot of pressure on that and stuff, and you know how muscular they or not they are, and how fit and how, like, you know, chiseled they look and stuff like that. I don't i don't feel that same kind of thing. um like I thankfully have not been losing my hair. um I feel like my hairline hasn't really receded, like, you know, knock on wood, hopefully that continues. But I said when I went into it, if I do lose my hair and become bald, at least I'll be a bald man. And that's how I feel about the whole thing. If I go through surgery and the surgery is painful, at least some of the deformity will be fixed and I will be fully man instead of part man. Like, physically. Like, moving through to the other side. I just want to live. I just want to live. I can't do anything about how I used to live. I can't undo how all of that was. But I don't live like that now, and I'm not going to live like that in the future. And I'm not going to live in the future like how I live now. That's how I feel after I've been on testosterone for 9 months. Um, don't really know what else to say. Again, physical changes and stuff, I haven't really noticed anything. So, as far as I know, it's all still just gradually progressing. um, I will say, if I touch right here, I can feel an Adam's apple. I can't see it. Like, on my neck, you can't really see it, but I can feel one in there, more than I used to be able to feel it. Like, I could always feel something, but I can feel a lot more of a something in there. So I'm hoping maybe it's growing. That would be exciting. My girlfriend thought I was maybe getting some growth, you know, bottom growth, but I haven't really been able to notice any real bottom growth. So I think that was her being excited, not necessarily accurate. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just extremely gradual. It seems like a lot of the changes are very gradual, which is fine. I expected that, honestly. I was actually very startled when a bunch of changes happened really fast right off the bat. I was like, what? This is supposed to be gradual. So, um, it's fine if it's gradual. It doesn't bother me any. Anyway, yeah, this is me, 9 months on T, and I think that's all I got to say.